Hello there, my name's Amy and I'm from moonmindology.com, and today I want to look at the chart of Tucker Carlson. So he was the journalist for Fox News, and he recently got sacked for some controversial thing, and since then he has started up his own news thing and he's doing quite well. Interviewed Vladimir Putin, which again was another controversial thing, but he seems to be doing really well, especially if you look at the views that interview got on social media. So anyway, let's look into his chart. His ascendant is in Cancer in the nakshatra Purnavasu, and that's the light at the end of the tunnel after the turbulence of Ardra. And you know, this is somebody who can come back from any adversity, and Purnavasu people, you know, they quite like a simple life. And I've heard that Tucker Carlson doesn't even use social media, and instead he uses, he gets a lot of his vital information from his trusted sources around the world through text messages. The symbol for this nakshatra is a bow and quiver. So there's a repetitive cycle of returning the bow to the quiver, is the returning quality, the return. So his first house ruler goes to the 11th, and this is all about networking and socializing. Surprise, surprise! And he will have great opportunities and be very influential. So making connections with people all around the world is all about, you know, it sums up what he is, and he loves doing that, and that's undoubtedly why he has become a journalist. He has an exalted moon, as well as the Sun and Mercury in the 11th. And this is really good for popularity and fame. And there can be large chunks of money, and you know, associates will be really beneficial to him, and he may be interested in philanthropic activities. And there's, you know, he will be very good at manifesting things into his reality. However, we have a dark moon here, and it plays a huge part in him feeling, you know, emotionally compromised, and this can burn up the relationship with the mother as well. He's very successful, and there is an interest in money. You know, he's got a clear interest in politics as well, and there could be links to powerful friends and even leaders. Wealth and fulfillment, you know, it's linked to the communication houses, and there's significant talents here. And he will have a mental clarity and, you know, great communications, and that's all linked through his friendships and friendship groups. He has the 11th ruler in the second. This is a dana yoga. You know, this is a wealth producing yoga, and it large sums of money from his daily job as well. So friends and associates, they're important to him. And this is, again, it's excellent communications and success through his talent. And he could have an older sibling that is perhaps a great inspiration to him or a great support. There can also be unusual friends as well, and gains from the losses of others in some cases. The 4th and the 11th ruler is in the 9th house, and I know that Tucker Carlson's mother left when he was rather young, but this actually says that there was a potential closeness between the parents, and she was actually monumental in programming ethics, and she was a strong teacher for him. His father may have had a more difficult life, and there are certainly problems with his teachers. Rahu and Venus, they're in the 9th, and this makes him really, really lucky, and it's also good for making money. So he would have done really well in higher education, and I bet he loves philosophy and culture in general. And there's a good relationship with the father with this. I wouldn't be surprised if Tucker Carlson was religious as well. This is great for opportunities, and sometimes teachers can be extreme, and you know, the father could be brilliant but could also be quite unusual and overbearing as well. There's a love of travel and foreign culture. There can be attractions to women who are very beautiful, but they can also be quite extreme or very ambitious. You know, he's fascinated by other people, and you know, he can be very, very charming. He'll spend time with anyone regardless of their views, as he just can't get enough of probing people. And I guarantee you that he's written glowing pieces about people that he doesn't necessarily even agree with. The ruler of the 6th and the 9th is in the 3rd, and this could be some problems with siblings, and there could even be a sibling that works in health, or there can be addiction problems, you know, that affect siblings. I don't know too much about his brother, and I don't seem to really be able to get much information about him, but there's certainly a problem here whether or not, you know, it's his brother's health, habits, or just their ability to get on. The Upachaya houses are activated as well, so Tucker would have been really focused on bettering himself and really evolving as a better person. And there's a great love of travel, and there is a deep desire for him to learn as well. Jupiter, Ketu and Uranus in the 3rd. This is great for self-expression and communication, and he can be a really good writer, and I bet he loves to teach as well. But you know, he's always going to be destined to be recognised for some kind of unusual or forward-thinking communication style. He can also be very rebellious, and you know, he's creative. We don't often see that. But there's problems, separation and loss around siblings as well. You know, he can be really brave with a really interesting view on the world, and there could have been some learning difficulties, or there's trouble in early school because he maybe thinks differently or is differently. There can also be an interest in photography, as well as a deep desire for, you know, answers about the world and the universe, as well as, you know, having that probing mentality. People who just can't leave things alone, because, you know, the sort of person that you'd speak to and go, you know, maybe speak to a plumber, and they'd say, oh, well, this doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And you'd go, why? But why? It's that kind of probing mentality. I need to know everything. Mars and Neptune, they're in the 5th, and this gives him a really amazing technical ability, and he will have such a fantastic intelligence as well. He can easily understand complex concepts, and he may be very good with maths as well. And there can also be some problems with romantic affairs as well. As Mars is the Yogacaraka planet, it's also in an excellent house as well as being in its own sign. So this is all about leadership and passion. He has a great control of his temper, and he has control over himself and his urges, and as well as his mind. And I think that is what makes him an excellent journalist. He'll also be very creative as well. Then we've got the ruler of the 5th, and the 10th is in the 5th. So this is a cemented indication that he is so intelligent and creative. The 5th and the 11th actually is all about politics. So this is why he has ended up as a political journalist. And there can be a desire to work with children. He will probably be interested in speculation as well as sport. But politics, entertainment, and the fact that he has put politics and entertainment together, you know, it's really quite amazing that he's been able to do that. Looking at the 10th, the 7th and the 8th ruler is in the 10th. So there's relationships and marriages that can develop from the workplace, and it's also good for business partners as well. Again, probing mind and used in the workplace. But, you know, this is a researcher, but there can be problems with people that you work with, as well as scandals as well. And of course, he did have a scandal recently. I am not totally au fait with why there was a scandal. All I know is there was one, and it was to do with work. Lost his job. So that's an interesting thing. Saturn is debilitated in the 10th, and this is interesting because this would usually be associated with a problematic work life or some kind of struggle to find purpose. But his father as well, this could show that he was emotionally unstable, and there can be some kind of weakness with bones and teeth. But I think that, you know, he has done phenomenally well in his work life. And, you know, he's done a lot for journalism, and I think he's really blossoming now. He is his own boss, so that could you know, translate into that. But you know, he did end up having that nightmare with Fox News, and you know, I guarantee it's a personal thing. So you know, 10th. Well, I imagine it's a personal problem with the boss, or some kind of personality clash, because the 10th house is your manager and your boss, and you know, there's problems there. So I imagine he was always butting heads with people who are above him. So Pluto is in the 2nd house, and this can be some power struggles in early life, and it creates confidence issues, but there can also be an obsession with money, as well as, you know, resources that are associated with security. Something may have threatened his security when he was a young man, probably something to do with his mum just upping and leaving, but there we go. There's not much we can really say on that, but that's going to be a significant event and significant change in somebody's life. And you can see from Pluto, it's transformational. But you know, there could have been problems with confidence as well. And when you have that, security is pulled apart, and there's such a huge transformation in that first part of life, it can give a obsession with trying to find security as well. So he will try to overcompensate with earning money, but also his words and which comes out of his mouth, that has great power with this as well. So he's currently in the Saturn Dasha, and that changed the grand cycle in Jan 2022, and this was when things may have changed a little bit for him, at least emotionally. He's now a more independent journalist, but Saturn debilitated. I think there can be, you know, possibility of danger during this time, so he needs to be you know, he needs to have Saturnian qualities in order to overcome this, or else he could, you know, come a cropper to Saturn's wrath. Rahu's going to cross over his Venus in February 2024, and you know, this could bring him beneficial associates, especially as this February he recently did a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and that was very, very beneficial from him. And he is essentially, I don't know whether I'd say an associate, but he's worked with him. So then we've got mid-April 2024, Saturn will be aspecting Mars, and this is interesting as the last time he had this aspect was in 1995, and this was a real start of his career, as some guy called Andrew Ferguson said Tucker Carlson had as much talent as anyone who would walk through the door. And interestingly, this gave him a boost into the limelight. So on that basis, this could be another career step up. He has some really positive aspects in May, which give him another rise. And then September 2024, Saturn will aspect Mars for the last time, and the whole event will be complete by the end of this year. I personally think that with this, his nodal return, this could be a pretty good year for him, and he will have to deal with a lot of scandal here and there, but you know, overall it's looking good for him working for himself. But you know, still, even if you have your own business, you report to yourself, there is always a customer, and the customer is essentially another kind of boss. So we'll see. He does have to answer to these people, so there could be problems with that. There could just be general problems in his work life. But I think even though he's got a debilitated planet in his work house, it is so strong, and his career has been so strong. I do think he's pretty unstoppable. So yeah, and I think he's, whether or not you agree with Tucker Carlson or, you know, working for Fox News or anything like that, I think he does a very important job by means of you know, just reporting. And even if you think the people that he's interviewed are liars or anything like that, it's still interesting. It's still interesting. It's really interesting and captivating. So I hope you have a lovely week. Thank you very much for watching today. Don't forget that if you are interested in reading with me, you can go to moonmindology.com. Thank you very much. Bye.